الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجلين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توبا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. There were some questions, and again, the first question is regarding the sadaqah that you pay for the salamati of the 12th Imam, for example, or when someone is traveling, you give a little sadaqah out. So what do you do with that? The question was, if that sadaqah is of Sayyid, does it mean that the masraf or how you have to spend it also has to be the same? No. That sadaqah is just a general sadaqah. You can give it to whoever you want. You can even give it to the center here, so they can make the use of it. So that sadaqah. Now among the sadaqat we have a wajib sadaqah, and all the other sadaqat are mustahab. Wajib sadaqah is this zakat which we pay. Zakatul fitr, that is wajib. All other sadaqat, all other charities, they are mustahab, and there is no restriction of Sayyid and non-Sayyid in all of them. And there were many other questions regarding these sadaqahs which you take out. For the first time I heard all of them, but in any case, sadaqah, it's mustahab. Spending that also, it's entirely up to you. You can give it to whoever you want. You can also give it to the center here. The other thing is regarding this new bala, this new affliction that has poured onto the humanity, and that is this Facebook, which is a trash, which is nothing but promotion of indecency and all that. So if someone chats on these books or on the internet or all these messenger services that we have, although we don't see who the person is on the other side, maybe a boy, maybe a girl, and if in one of these chats, if they have these, they become wet, for example. So the question is, does the fast become batil? The fast, it may not invalidate because there are some conditions on what is discharges from an individual. But the definition of adultery which Amir al-Mu'mineen gives, if we have that in mind, most of this trash is defined as indecency, is defined as adultery by Amir al-Mu'mineen. Adultery doesn't mean that physical indecent contact takes place with an individual. He says even the looks that a person has, or even the fingers that are being used on that keyboard for that, so that is also doing the same job of that adultery, although that physical contact is not there. So we have to be careful. Although by that discharge a fast may not invalidate, but a sin has been committed which is as grave as that great sin. So we have to be careful, especially this Facebook. It is nothing but just trash. It is nothing but a satanic trap to trap all the good people, mu'mineen in particular. But my advice and recommendation to everyone is that we don't need to have an account on that Facebook at all. We don't need. What is the use of that? That everyone knows the whereabouts of an individual, all the family members of an individual, by getting onto that Facebook. So just beware, and especially in this month of Ramadan, we make an attempt and ask Allah to help, that we just want to deactivate whatever we have over there, and inshallah He will also help. That we have to make that initiative with us. That's one. And it was mentioned repeatedly throughout these nights that the whole idea of ilm al-akhlaq is the purification of the soul. And it was mentioned in a hadith from the Holy Prophet, he said that لا تدخل الملائكة بيتا فيه كلب, that the angels, they don't descend in a house where there is a dog. And it was said that it's the heart that has to be clean, pure, if we want that to be enlightened by Allah. So all the impurities, they have to be pumped out of that heart. Now this is one phase of it. The other phase is that cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say. So if we want purity, it has to start from the zawahir, or the livelihood we are in, the way, the lifestyle we live. It has to be clean. And if you look into the teachings that we have, to cleanliness, so much of importance has been given. If it's the eve of the first of the month, says you have a ghusl. If it's the first day of the month, another ghusl. So on and so forth, every occasion, every opportunity, a ghusl. Day of Jummah, a ghusl. So weekly, if you just look into it, we have a ghusl which is recommended once in a week at least. Now based upon the month of Rajab, Sha'ban, and this sacred month of Ramadan, all the other ayat that we have, so much of importance has been given. And when we say taharat, it's not the Western way of taharat, using tissues and wipes. No, that is not taharat. Taharat means with water. So cleanliness, without water, it doesn't take place. Quran says, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. It's water which has made everything lively. Without water, nothing is lively. So with just wipes and tissues and all that, that's the way how. The other thing which we have to be careful is these restrooms that we use. If the restroom wasn't cleaned properly, that is, that taharat wasn't observed, it wasn't washed the seat and all that, if someone else uses it after us and he gets najis, all his sins are going to be on my head. So we have to be careful in our homes, in the places where we use these restrooms, that taharat has to be observed. So to cleanliness, so much of importance has been given, that if a place is clean and tahir, there you find that you can perform a better worship. If it's a mess, if the house where you want to say your prayers, if the room where you want to, in the mosque you want to say your prayers, if that mosque is a mess, you won't feel elevated. For that elevation, cleanliness is required. The place has to be nice, tidy, clean, so that you can perform a better service. So this is the zawahir, the exterior, where we look into the cleanliness and taharat of that place. And then comes the taharat in the interior. One of the other things which plays a very important role in the enlightenment of the soul, it's being in taharat at all times, in wuzu at all times. Marhum Qazi says that for 40 years I observed this wuzu consecutively for 40 years. That is, whenever he was in need of wuzu, whenever his wuzu became batil, immediately he performed another one. For 40 years he was like that, and then the downpour of ma'arif was on him. Again, riwayat, they are amazing. One of these riwayat, it says that if you started a task, whatever task, may that be related to your job, your schools, your universities, whatever, or even at home, you wanted to achieve a goal. Ma'soom says that if you started that job and you did not achieve that goal, don't blame anyone else, blame yourself if you did it without wuzu. That is, if you had done that job with wuzu, you would have definitely achieved what you had to achieve. So may that be our jobs day in, day out, whatever we are doing. If we do that in taharat, that taharat protects us in achieving that goal, plus that enlightenment of soul, it's always there, as if there's this constant connection at all times, because purity attracts purity. At-tayyibatu lit-tayyibin. When we observe that purity, Allah is all pure, He also attracts us. That mercy also will be attracted by us. That is the mercy of Allah. So, especially kids, if we make it a habit now that to be in taharat at all times, that will become a lifestyle of yours, and it will remain with you until the end. If we make it a habit from now, that be in wuzu at all times. If you go to school with wuzu, and Allah will help you even no matter what tough scenarios may unfold before you. And it was mentioned that the Holy Prophet says that لولا أن الشياطين يحومون على قلوب بني آدم لنظروا إلى ملكوت السماوات والأرض. That man, he has been created in a way that he can look into the malakut, that is the unseen at all times, that is by default settings. He says that the reason why they cannot access that malakut, it's because the shayateen, they have taken control of the heart of an individual, of a human being, as a result of which they cannot access the malakut, the unseen. So by shayateen, it's all these negative things that come up in our life, all these wrongdoings that come up every now and then in our life. Each one of them becomes a hindrance, a barrier, a filter which does not allow us to access the unseen. And then he says that kullu mawludin, that every mawlud, every birth that we have, it is in the pure nature. Every person is born pure, and that nature is that his attachment to malakut is there. What the parents do, they either make him a Jew, a Christian, a Zoroastrian, or whatever faith and religion they teach the kid, he changes them. Otherwise, Allah, He has created every person on the every person is born as a Muslim on Islam, and that nature of it also attracts purity. One of the raza'il that this soul has or has to be kept away from it is shirk. That is the third demerit or the third razila in this ilm al-akhlaq, and that is to associate a partner besides Allah. That is, we have faith in Allah, He is the creator, He is the sustainer. With His intention everything came into existence. I have faith in Him, that is the faith which I have. Now if I ascribe someone besides Him, if I take someone as a partner to Him, that taking of a partner or that ascribing of a partner to the existence of God is shirk. Now again, shirk is classified into a few categories. Inshallah, we'll touch those as well. In worship such that His pleasure does not exist in it. If I say my prayers in a way that Allah doesn't exist in it, it means that I am offering a prayers, and in that prayers I am ascribing someone else apart from Allah. If the pleasure of Allah is not sought in my prayers, if the pleasure of Allah is not sought in the fasts, it is as if these prayers and that fast are not for Allah. It is as if it is something else, a partner besides Allah that I have in my mind. And many a times we find that that partner of Allah is our own self. That is, I look into myself, I create myself so huge and big and large, and I myself become a hindrance, a barrier, a partner to the existence of God. So that is why we are said that this self-want, we have to kill it, we have to fight the self-desire, the self-want at all times, so that this self-want doesn't stand besides Allah. The reason why we say Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest, we start the prayers with that, and we end the prayers again with that Allahu Akbar, so that pride, it just vanishes from these prayers. That is, I constantly remind myself this greatness belongs only and only to Allah and no one else. So a prayer, a worship wherein the pleasure of Allah is not sought, that prayer, it's as if we have ascribed someone else as the sharik, as the partner of Allah, and that prayer becomes batil. And again, to this we have to be careful, that many a times we find that shaitan, he has trapped us in a way by the prayers we offer, by the place of worship, or where we stand to say the prayers. Let's start with the imam. The shaitan, he may come and say to the imam that You are humble, for example. There are larger mosques over here, but you are saying your prayers in a small mosque, so that is your tawazu. So he traps that imam in that way. So the imam doesn't know he's been trapped, but he has been trapped by shaitan. Or maybe people, they like to stand in the first saf. If that standing in the first saf sometimes gets us or traps us in pride, in ghurur and takabbur, immediately switch that place, so that shaitan, he doesn't trap us. Or sometimes a person, he may not like to stand in the first saf, would like to stand in the last saf. And gradually it may so happen that again a pride of a different kind afflicts that person. Switch your place again. And that is why we find it is recommended in a mosque, when you go to say your prayers, don't fix yourself to one point. Say your prayers in different locations of that mosque. Sometimes in the first saf, sometimes last saf, sometimes left, right, whichever place, so that you just keep on roaming in that mosque. Now again, the other reason for that is, that has been said to us, now this is not a mosque, it's not a masjid as such, is that if you have these prayers performed in different locations of a mosque, each location, each spot will bear witness for you in the hereafter, that this person, he said his prayers at this point in this location. So, shirk, it's ascribing someone in addition to Allah, may that be in the faith we have in Him, or may that be in the worship that we are performing for Him. And shirk results in one entering the fire and being amongst the associates, or being among the kuffar. Now the opposite of shirk, it's tawheed. Tawheed, it's that oneness of Allah. Now this oneness of Allah, it has to be a oneness in the existence of God, that He is one, lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad, that He is the one and the only one. And when we talk about the attributes of Allah, tabarak wa ta'ala, in attributes also He has to be one. What attributes? Now all these names of Allah, the qualities that we have, the sifat of Allah that we have. For example, His ilm, His knowledge, His qudra, His power, ability, His might, and then His hayat, His life. When we say Allah, He is one, that is Allah who possesses knowledge, Allah who possesses hayat, Allah who possesses qudrat. He is one. Now to understand what this means, that the attributes of Allah also should be one. For example, I have an existence of my own, plus I have a bit of a knowledge, I have some abilities, and I have a life which I possess. Now this life which is given to me did not exist in me. So I came into existence, and then this life was topped up onto my existence. So I have an existence of my own, and there is a life in addition to my existence. Or I didn't know to read and write. I learned to read and write. So I have an existence, plus a life, plus I learned to read and write and became knowledgeable, for example. So that is again another quality which is existing in me. Or for example, I was little, I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I had no power, I had no might. As I grew, those abilities were given to me, I became, for example, powerful. So that power and ability, it's again another quality which has topped up onto my existence. So I have an existence of my own, which is my wujud, plus knowledge, plus qudrats, plus a life. So it's 4 different entities. But when we talk about the existence of Allah, it is not as such that Allah existed and then hayat was topped up onto His existence. If we say that, it means it's 2 things, it's not one thing. It's God plus another thing which is life. And if we say that God and then knowledge, it's as if God plus knowledge. There is no plus in God. When we say God, God who is all living, God who is all knowing, God who is almighty, and it is the existence of God. It's one parcel, one existence possessing all those qualities. For me, it's an existence which has been topped up with all these qualities. So when we have faith in Allah, we say that Tawheed means having faith in that one God who possesses all of those qualities. So not that He is one and also He has those qualities. No, also in God doesn't exist. It is what we say that Qul huwallahu ahad, say that He is one. Allahu samad, who has been from ever, who is forever. Lam yalid, He was not begotten. Walam yulad, nor was He born from anyone. Walam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad, He is only one. So that is Tawheed. So, opposite of shirk is Tawheed. Tawheed starts with the existence of Allah, that we have to have faith in Him and His attributes, which is all one parcel. And then Tawheed in Him being wajibul wujud. Wajibul, now in philosophy, existence, the philosophers, they define into three categories. We have an existence who must exist. We have an existence, it's okay for him to exist, and we have an existence who must not exist. Now this is in very simple words. A being who must exist, it's God. A being who can exist, it's human beings. If I exist, if I don't exist, it doesn't make any difference in this grand creation of God. And an existence who must not exist, it's that sharik, it's that partner of God. He must not exist. He does not exist. So this again, it's that Tawheed which we talk about. Tawheed in the existence of God. Tawheed in God Himself, in the essence of God. And then comes Tawheed in effect and in the creation. That is to know that only effective being, the only effective creation, no doer, there is no action that will come into existence but through God. So everything is from Him, everything starts from Him, everything takes form through Him, every action is from Him. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that we say, there is no movement, there is no motion but from Allah. So everything is from Him. So we have to strengthen this Tawheed in us. One of the ways of strengthening this Tawheed is by these du'as that we have. One of the things which helps a lot is this ziyarat, Jami'at al-Kabira. If you get some time, just go through the meanings of that ziyarat in the first few phrases of it, where Imam so beautifully says that if someone wants to know God, come to this door, that is Ahlul Bayt. They will tell you, they will teach you who God is, what Tawheed means, so on and so forth. Again, Tawheed, it's of different stages. The first stage is that I embrace and I accept the oneness of God with my tongue, saying La ilaha illallah, that there is no God but Allah. And that is, once I've said that formula, a person is a Muslim. And then that formula, I digest it and accept it in my heart. So then a person becomes a mu'min. Once he becomes a Muslim, plus accepts it in his heart, becomes a mu'min, then tops up his iman with a'mal and actions, with prayers and fasts and all that, that strengthens it and makes him stronger. Now how to strengthen this tawheed that we have? Yesterday we recited that lengthy hadith from our sixth Imam, which was a hadith on Qudsi, where Allah talked about having and relying upon Allah Jalla wa Ala. Says that you want to strengthen tawheed, rely upon God. No matter what circumstances may turn, afflictions may turn upon you, turn down on you, still stick to God, rely on God, and that way a person will become strong. If you look into Quran, it says that وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. In that battle, when the Muslims were small and very few in number, and over there the kuffar were huge, large number. The place where they were to fight, that was also good. The horses which they possessed were thousands in number. And it was such that the land was a hard land, for the horses to gallop was easy. And also they had a full-fledged kitchen, hot food being served every now and then. So looking at the calculations, they were strong. Muslims, just a few, 313. Just a few horses, very little ammunition, no kitchen, no hot food. And the place where these horses were, it was soft land where horses could not gallop. Because of that tawheed, because of that tawakkul in the existence of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, it so happens that that night it rains heavily, and that land which was so hard and good for those enemies to gallop becomes soft and clay and muddy, and this land which was soft for the Muslims becomes hard, as a result of which they win over those thousands. And then Quran says, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ. It wasn't you, O Prophet, who threw that spear when the spear was thrown. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. It was Allah who threw that spear. So that is tawakkul. When tawakkul is there, that assistance from Allah is also there. Now, this is something which happened 1400 years ago. Now let's go just 2-3 years ago. In this 33-day war that we had, now the Muslims, the Mu'mineen, were just a few in number compared to a whole worldwide force against them. Now this is something which is being told by Ayatollah Misbah. It's available online in this magazine called Maw'ud Online. There he says that when he went to Beirut to see Sayyid, after all that fame which he had sought in this world, he says, I saw this Sayyid, he is much more down to earth than what he was before, much more mutawazi, much more humble. And then he says that whatever happened in this war, we played no part. Whatever was from Allah. And then he says, I was at the headquarters, and every 15 minutes the communique, they used to come to me, the message was being given to me, what is happening and what is not happening on the battlefronts. And then from the forefronts, they sent the message that send those ammunition, send those missiles, and they give the message to the forefronts that we have nothing to send, nothing, everything is finished. Then they say, what do we do? From the headquarters, the message is given, do whatever you want. You can come back, you can stay there and die, you can move forward. We have nothing to send to you. Now this message was given to Sayyid also in the headquarters, and then everyone is crying, bleeding. And then he says that all of a sudden, I have a vision. Sayyid says, I have a vision, that is, I am on that battlefront, and I see that there is a lady, a tall lady, in that forefront. And I come to her, and she is Zainab Sallallahu Alaiha. He says, I came to her, I started pleading, saying that do something, help, we have nothing. She says, why do you worry? My mother, she is taking care of everything, even right in front of us. And then he says, I ran to her, started pleading, saying that do something, help. And before I could say that, she is pointing at the skies, and one after the other there are missiles being shot and which are heading to that destination. In the meantime, a communique from the forefronts back to the headquarters, that's the target, come on, hit. They say we didn't do anything, we didn't send anything, we didn't have anything. This is Quran, says وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. That it wasn't you when you struck, it was Allah who strikes. So when it comes to Tawheed, if we want to strengthen this Tawheed, it is by Tawakkul. We have to start in our own livelihoods, in the things that unfold, in the problems that unfold. For example, jobs or house or universities, colleges, studies, matrimonial issues and all that. If we start from our own selves and strengthen ourselves in this Tawheed, no matter what the circumstance, now it's easy to say, but it's tough. Listen to me first. then it's going to be easier for us to step in the main valley. And when Allah finds and sees that this person does rely on me, then everything will be easy. So, shirk, opposite of shirk is tawheed. Tawheed, again, if you want to strengthen that, that is through tawakkul. Tawakkul means to rely upon Allah. To rely upon Allah doesn't mean that we do nothing and we just sit and wait for Allah to do things. No, He won't do things. We have to work hard, we have to strive, and then all the shortcomings, as-sa'yu minni wal-itmam min Allah. I try and Allah will complete. That is it. So all the efforts I take, and the Hadith of Qudsi says that if my servant, if he steps a few steps towards me sincerely, I will drag him hundreds of steps towards myself. I will drag him. So if we sincerely have one or two steps, all the rest is, all this Islamic revolution, which is a burst of noor, as Marhum Imam used to say, all of that was a result of that tawakkul in Allah Ta'ala. Otherwise, based upon the normal calculations and measures, it was impossible for this to happen. Every step of that, Imams return, and after that, and it was a time when everything in Iran was perished. And the little bit that was remained, again, that was gone in those 8 years of war. Now, a country which was at a standstill, or whatever they possessed was gone. How come in just a few years after this war and after that revolution, it's the strongest on this planet? How come? It's that tawakkul. If just a few of the mu'mineen have that tawakkul on Allah, Allah says, you have a few steps towards me, I'll drag you towards myself. That is tawheed. So strengthening of tawheed, it's by this tawakkul. And again, the Almighty says that Inna aradna al-amanata ala as-samawati wal-ard wal-jibal fa-abayna an yahmilna. That this trust of Allah, He says that we gave this trust to the skies, to the air, to the mountains, and all of them, they said, no, we can't hold that trust. We can't bear to hold it. The mountains, strong, huge, mighty, big, they said, we can't hold that trust. The earth says, I can't. Skies, we can't. Then who held that trust of Allah, that amanat of Allah? Says, it's that man, it's that human being. What is that trust? Says that is that duty, those obligations, that wilayat of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So man had that capacity or that tendency to hold that wilayah, as a result of which Allah gave that trust to man. If you remember the other day, it was recited that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says that, sons of Adam, be obedient to me, I will make you rich. Be obedient to me, I will make you live forever. Be obedient to me, I will make you like myself. As I say be and it becomes, you will also say be and it will become. So that is as a result of the tawakkul which a person can have in the existence of Allah, as a result of which he also becomes a reflection of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. On these nights of the sacred month of Ramadan, may Allah enlighten us. May He strengthen this tawheed and tawakkul in us, and all this shirk and indecency in whatever form and attachment may that be in our existence, may that be cleansed and purified. All those who have requested from Allah for whatever they wanted, may that be granted to them. From the sponsors of Iftar, may Allah accept biqabulin hasan. For all those who have hopes, wishes, desires, hajat, all those present here, absent from here, all those living, all those who had hopes and who have passed away, may Allah fulfill, grant whatever they wanted. And the Eid of these days and nights be the return of the Imam of time, and that we be enlisted among His true supporters and servants, and our children be enlisted among the best who ever existed. For each one of us, 3 loud salawats. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala
we are going to start with the Dua Iftatah. In the meantime, request to recite Surah Fatiha for the martyrs of Maqam Manshab.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك فأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعوقبين في موضع النقول والنغمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي.
من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجلين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. There were some questions, and again the first question is regarding the sadaqah that you pay for the salamati of the 12th Imam, for example, or when someone is traveling, you give a little sadaqah out. So what do you do with that? The question was, if that sadaqah is of Sayyid, does it mean that the masraf or how you have to spend it also has to be the same? No. That sadaqah is just a general sadaqah that everyone knows the whereabouts of an individual, all the family members of an individual by getting onto that Facebook. So just beware, especially in this month of Ramadan, we make an attempt and ask Allah to help, that we just want to deactivate whatever we have over there, and inshallah He will also help. That we have to make that initiative with us. That's one. And it was mentioned repeatedly throughout these nights that the whole idea of ilm al-akhlaq is the purification of the soul. And it was mentioned in a hadith from the Holy Prophet, he said that لا تدخل الملائكة بيتا فيه كلب, that the angels, they don't descend in a house where there is a dog. And it was said that it's the heart that has to be clean, pure, if we want that to be enlightened by Allah. So all the impurities, they have to be pumped out of that heart. Now this is one phase of it. The other phase is that cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say. So if we want purity, it has to start from the zawahir, or the livelihood we are in, the way, the lifestyle we live. It has to be clean, for example. So the question is, does the fast become batil? The fast, it may not invalidate because there are some conditions on what is discharges from an individual. But the definition of adultery which Amir al-Mu'mineen gives, if we have that in mind, most of this trash is defined as indecency, is defined as adultery by Amir al-Mu'mineen. Adultery doesn't mean that physical indecent contact takes place with an individual. He says even the looks that a person has, or even the fingers that are being used on that keyboard for that, so that is also doing the same job of that adultery, although that physical contact is not there. So we have to be careful. Although by that discharge a fast may not invalidate, but a sin has been committed which is as grave as that great sin. So we have to be careful, especially this Facebook. It is nothing but just trash. It is nothing but a satanic trap to trap all the good people, mu'mineen in particular. But my advice and recommendation to everyone is that we don't need to have an account on that Facebook at all. We don't need. What is the use of that? You can give it to whoever you want. You can even give it to the center here, so they can make the use of it. So that's sadaqah. Now among the sadaqat we have a wajib sadaqah, and all the other sadaqat are mustahab. Wajib sadaqah is this zakat which we pay. Zakatul fitr, that is wajib. All other sadaqat, all other charities, they are mustahab, and there is no restriction of sayyid and non-sayyid in all of them. And there were many other questions regarding these sadaqahs which you take out. For the first time I heard all of them, but in any case, sadaqah, it's mustahab. Spending that also, it's entirely up to you. You can give it to whoever you want. You can also give it to the center here. The other thing is regarding this new bala, this new affliction that has poured onto the humanity, and that is this Facebook, which is a trash, which is nothing but promotion of indecency and all that. So if someone chats on these books, on the internet, or all these messenger services that we have, although we don't see who the person is on the other side, maybe a boy, maybe a girl, and if in one of these chats, if they have these, they become wet. And if you look into the teachings that we have, to cleanliness, so much of importance has been given. If it's the eve of the first of the month, says you have a ghusl. If it's the first day of the month, another ghusl. So on and so forth, every occasion, every opportunity, a ghusl. Day of Jummah, a ghusl. So weekly, if you just look into it, we have a ghusl which is recommended once in a week at least. Now based upon the month of Rajab, Sha'ban, and this sacred month of Ramadan, all the other ayat that we have, so much of importance has been given. And when we say taharat, it's not the Western way of taharat, using tissues and wipes. No, that is not taharat. Taharat means with water. So cleanliness, without water, it doesn't take place. Quran says, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. It's water which has made everything lively. Without water, nothing is lively. So with just wipes and tissues and all that, if that's the way how. The other thing which we have to be careful is these restrooms that we use. If the restroom wasn't cleaned properly, that is, that taharat wasn't observed, it wasn't washed the seat and all that, if someone else uses it after us and he gets najis, all his sins are going to be on my head.